looking now at FRQ 4, the contextual FRQ. This will always be number 4 on the exam. So the contextual FRQ is one that you get the image. The image is from the 250. The rest of the questions are kind of a mystery bag. Because it is contextual, it's going to be very about the history, the context, whatever's important to that piece. So, very first thing I do whenever I look at a contextual FRQ is I look at that image and I think about all the things that I remember. You have scrap paper, just jot down like, why was this in the 250? What do I remember? Blah, 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 blah. Not a ton of writing, don't waste your time. But anything that could help spark, because you don't want to get lost when you start reading the prompt. There's usually a point for you explaining a visual, but the rest of the questions, you just have to kind of pay attention to what it's asking. The contextual FRQ is one of these short FRQs, so spend just 15 minutes on it, move on. If you spend less time, you can always come back. Reminder with FRQs, you can bounce around the whole 2 hours, just get something down on every FRQ, I'm happy. So as always, make sure that you read and follow the prompt. The prompt is the task points. Don't make up your own prompt. Write about what it asks you to write about. And then to make sure that you guys are doing that, it is best, especially if you're struggling as a writer, to restate the questions as sentence starters. That helps you keep track of your points, and it helps you stay focused on the prompt. That's especially important in the contextual because it asks for such different things. So we're going to take a look at an example. This example comes from the 2024 AP Art History exam. And in this case, right away, I see that's the funeral banner of Lady Di. What do I remember about it? And I could jot down China, Lady Di, elite, because ladies in there. It had something to do with like Taoism or something. There's dragons. She was a mummy. That's a fun fact, but you know, not amazingly important. So like anything I could quickly bullet point down. Then I read the FRQ. The work shown is the funeral banner of Lady Di, created circa 180 BCE. We don't have to do any identifiers here. It's a short FRQ, so it's just giving you that info. We love that. First point, describe at least one visual characteristic of the work shown. Oh wow, look, it provides a picture. Visual characteristic is a gimme point as long as you write enough about it. So look at it, write about what you look what you see, right? So write about what you see. Number 2, describe the original location of the work shown. So location's a big word. We'll get into that. So this is where contextual, again, it's going to be very specific about the piece. The next 2 points here, using 2 examples of specific visual and or contextual evidence, explain how the subject matter of the work shown demonstrates Han Dynasty beliefs about the universe. Contextual FRQs can sprinkle in specifics like that, like Han Dynasty. Don't let that scare you. What is it actually asking? In this case, it's about the belief system. You can do belief system a little bit easier than thinking about the entire context of the Han Dynasty. So focus in on what it's actually asking. Then lastly, using specific visual or contextual evidence, explain why this work of art has been interpreted as a symbol of elite social status. So that last question is about elite social status. So I have now read, I'm going to start just writing or typing my FRQ. So we're going to break this down task at a time. I'm going to provide what I wrote and then what College Board also includes as options. So task 1, describe at least one visual characteristic of the work shown. Get your visual point, guys. That's the easiest one to get. So look at it, talk about what you see. You want to make sure you are specific enough though. You can't just say the artwork has colors. Most of them do. So be specific. It doesn't have to be crazy long, just specific. Identify something specific. So easiest ones to talk about, is it symmetrical, asymmetrical, radial, as far as balance? With color, what colors are there, or what color scheme does it use? composition stuff, you can break down any implied lines or shapes or any of that kind of stuff. Or positive negative space is always easy. You can also talk about the subject matter on the piece, like if there is clear subject matter, which could be abstract shapes. It could be that there's a couple dragons. So it could be how it's organized, any of that. I like to stick to elements and principles for visual characteristic, so it's easy, gimme points. So what I wrote, the main color used in the artwork is red. Yay, a point. A lot easier than the point in like the compare and contrast FRQ. Other ones that College Board included, it's made out of silk, has a portrait of Lady Di, includes a bead disc, broken in 3 registers, composed as a T-shaped banner, or shows different realms of human existence. Any of those things would count as the point. Easy point. You got this, get it, move on. So again, don't spend forever on visual characteristics. Be specific, but don't go crazy yapping. Next point. Again, contextual. From that point forward, you're just reading the question carefully and answering about it because it's very specific to the artwork. So here, describe the original location of the work shown. Location is kind of a weird term. I'm not a huge fan of how they used it, but they left it super wide and open. So location could mean tons of different things. What I went with was that the banner was draped over the coffin of Lady Di, because to me, the location, I was like, oh, it's where it was located when it was placed. So I kind of filled in a blank there. You could also get a point for saying it was located in China. Boom, done. You're like, oh, easy. It's Chinese, boom, China. So if you were not confident and you were like, the work is from Japan, then you can also keep talking about where it's located. So banner was found in a tomb, found in an elite burial site. If you remembered that it was in the Hunan province, close to the Silk Road, any of those count for location. So location, big term, could be where specific or country, place, etc. Then on to the next task. These are 2 task points. And anytime I have 2 pieces of evidence, I like to have a sentence starter of like firstly and secondly, so that I make sure that I have both. It's easy to get lost and be like, yeah, I definitely answered that prompt. Oops, I forgot to answer that prompt. So here it's saying use 2 examples of specific visual and or contextual evidence. Explain how the subject matter of the work show demonstrates Han Dynasty beliefs about the universe. First thing, make sure you're checking what type of evidence it wants. In this case, it's visual and or contextual, very flexible. It is the contextual FRQ. Sometimes it's probably just going to be contextual, so pay attention. You don't want to talk about like color if it's, not about the context. And then, like I said before, don't get overwhelmed by like the sprinkle in extra pretty words like Han Dynasty. It's talking about beliefs about the universe. Focus on that. And then because it's 2 examples, that's 2 points. So I start with kind of a sentence starter. This artwork demonstrates Han Dynasty cosmology. I could also say beliefs about the universe. That just helps me get started in thinking. Then my evidence. Firstly, the intertwining celestial dragons show the duality of Taoism, in which equal but opposing forces balance each other. So I'm talking about that whole yin-yang thing, but seen as in the dragons. I added the word celestial in there just in case it's like dragons aren't real, so I'm saying that they're heavenly and magical, but we're not using the word magical. Secondly, here's my second point. Secondly, the subjects are divided in 3 registers to showcase the heavenly realm, the earthly realm, and the underworld. This matches the Han beliefs of how the universe is organized. This is one where I was like, ooh, I talked about the registers. Oh, shoot, that's kind of too visual. So I wanted to make sure to show you guys how to switch it into contextual if it, just said contextual. So I talked about how it matches the organization of their belief system. It also makes the prompt itself a little bit stronger. So restate, firstly, evidence. Secondly, evidence. That's what you want to do for these kind of task points. Last task point, because this is a 5 task point FRQ. Using specific visual or contextual evidence, explain why this work of art has been interpreted as a symbol of elite social status. This is another one where it's very specific about the piece. Visual or contextual here, very helpful. So very wide, we can kind of talk about the materials, we could talk about the context of her being an elite person, any of that kind of stuff. Just make sure you're being specific. You don't want to just say the artwork uses silk. Why is that elite? You have to explain why on these kind of questions, right? So anytime it says explain or why, that's where you go deep. Describe is a simple word. That's where you get away with the main color is red. Explain why, dive in, go deeper, be more specific. So my example, the artwork is a symbol of elite status because, I use the sentence starter, it required expensive materials such as silk and was draped over an elaborate nestling coffin system. I finagled the words there to talk about the 3 coffin thing. Only elites like Lady Di and her family could afford such luxurious materials and funerary practices. So I wasn't confident about my first sentence, being strong enough to say why it was social status. So I backed it up saying, well, of course, those materials being expensive is for the elite because they are luxurious. They're expensive. So only those kind of people could afford it. So that's an example. Again, when it says explain or why, dive deep and really explain why. Keep diving into the why. So context, if you don't know the piece, can feel overwhelming. However, look at the art. The picture itself is a nice little hint about what it's asking for. The questions, too, are a good hint. If I knew nothing about Lady Di, the funeral banner, any of that kind of stuff, it tells you the name of the piece, and like when, so knowing that it's 180 BCE, I'm like, okay, maybe I could come up with stuff about that. It's talking about some sort of belief system, so it's tied into beliefs. There's social status. I could totally make up something about social status. If you don't know, pretend you know, pretend to be confident, and just write. Don't stop writing, because the only way to get no points is to not write at all. Good luck on your contextual FRQ.